snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to answer the questions that you guys very kindly left on my Q&A call that I recently did. So I did promise you guys I was going to do a Q&A, and here is, I don't know if it's going to be like multiple parts, but here is part one if it's going to be long enough. I got a lot of questions, so thank you all so much, because I was really worried I wasn't going to have enough. So I'm really glad that you did ask me lots of questions. So yeah, I'm not going to do this in any order or divide it into any sections. I'm just going to run down the comments and see what we've got. So let's get started, and if it gets too long I will divide it into two parts. So first comment that I have is from Eleanor, and she says, if you could imagine where the second one in the Long Way to a Small Angry Planet series, or the companion book that Becky Chambers is writing, could go plot-wise, where would you want it to go? I would love to see more of the races, more of the planets. I think we got sort of an overview of the politics. We didn't really go into detail on it. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. One of the real strengths of Becky Chambers is that she can create such diverse races, and it's just really interesting and really fascinating to read about them and sort of see their perspective and their point of view on humanity. I loved that whilst I was reading it, and I thought that the characters she created were just utterly phenomenal. So I would just love to see more races and more characters in book 2. Fingers crossed that happens. Okay, then I have some questions from Amanda. What was the first book that you remember having a huge impact on you, either as a kid or an adult? I would probably say the book that got me into fantasy in a big way was Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, because even though I had read fantasy books before, like I'd read Narnia, I'd read Harry Potter, I'd read various other things that were more aimed at kids, I would say that probably Elantris by Sanderson was the one that really got me into epic fantasy and started to set me on the path of like adult epic fantasy as opposed to kids. And adult epic fantasy is definitely like the thing that I most enjoy, so I would probably credit him with being the first one to introduce me to it, which I think it's a lot of people's choice. Like, I think Sanderson is a great gateway between the children's or YA and then into the adult market of fantasy, so definitely Sanderson. The second question Amanda asked is, what was the first fantasy book you'd ever read? Does stuff like Winnie the Pooh count as fantasy? Because I suppose it does, because if it does, then Winnie the Pooh. The Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton is one of the ones that I loved as a kid. I absolutely adored that, so that's probably one of my earliest ones that I reread and reread and reread. I love that book. Such a good book. What are you studying at uni? Which I think a couple of people asked me. I am studying graphic design at uni. It's a 3-year course and I'm currently on my 3rd year, which means I will be finishing early in next year, like spring of next year. I will be finished with uni, which is crazy but very exciting. The 3rd year is going well so far. I think you guys saw my dissertation books before. I'm doing a dissertation all about The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and the way that the story that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote was then translated to screen, and so all of the concept art and things like that, and Peter Jackson talking about the way that he interpreted it. So that sounds like it's going to be really interesting. I've also had some really great projects being set over the last few days, so that's really exciting. Graphic design is basically designing for a surface, so it's not making a product, it's making the adverts or the packaging for a product. So it's very much like you'll get advertisements, you'll get illustration, you'll get book design, all that sort of stuff, branding, anything like that falls under graphic design. A lot of people think that graphic design is very computer-based, which it is, but it doesn't have to be. It can be very tactile, it can be very hands-on. I, for one, much prefer this sort of thing. This is my style. Thought I would show you some of the stuff that I do. So I'm really big into fine liner and pencil drawings, because that is something I can actually do. I can do computer digital stuff, I just don't love it that much. So some of the stuff that I tend to do is much more hand generated. I very much love craft, I very much love sort of tactile stuff, playing with things, drawing. That's definitely where my forte is. Some of you guys might have already seen this. I think this strip is actually what I have on the top of my YouTube channel. Because I drew this a while back and I was like, what can I put as the top of my YouTube banner? So this is what I ended up sort of cropping in, because it had books on it, so it made sense. I draw a lot of things in dot form. I really like dots and fine liners and lines and scratchy things. But you know, sometimes I do colour and sometimes I do pen and ink and fine liner and biro. Sometimes there's call for a biro. Watercolours, acrylics, clay. Sometimes I do 3D stuff. Sometimes I do computer stuff. Sometimes I do like cutout, which is what this is. It's like cut out and stuck on and then drawn over. So it's a whole range of stuff. It totally depends how you want to interpret the course. My course is pretty open like that, which I really, really love. So hope that answers all of your questions about my uni stuff. Have you been to Harry Potter Studios? Is it amazing? Yes, I have. Yes, it is. It is definitely amazing. I loved it. I went with my mum and my sister maybe 2 years ago now, so quite a while ago. I really want to go back because since I went they've added the Hogwarts Express, and I think they've added other stuff as well. So I really, really want to go back. Hopefully I will, because I want to take my boyfriend. It's magical. It is as though you are in Hogwarts. I wanted to cry so much basically when you first walk in, they play you this sort of interview with some of the cast and some of the people and J.K. Rowling and stuff, and I cried straight away. Just tears rolling down my cheeks, and then walking around, it was just magical. So if any of you guys are ever in London and you get the chance to go to the Harry Potter Studios, I would 100% recommend it. Do it. If you could live in any fictional world, which one would you choose and why? I like the idea of living in the Faraway tree world because it's quite a normal world, but then when you go up the tree, basically you go up this really tall tree and there's all sorts of strange little woodland creatures and characters who live in the tree. They're kind of fantastical. One of them is called Moonface, and he literally has a face that is a moon and all of this stuff. And then when you get to the top of the tree, there's always a world there, and it changes all the time. So I think that would be really cool because you can decide whether or not it's worth going into. Some of the worlds are bad, you don't want to go into them, but some of them are really, really good. So I think I would like to live in that world because then I could have my normal day-to-day life. I could chat with people, I could have a good time. But then equally, if I wanted an adventure, I could go up the tree and I could just see what world's at the top and see if it's worth going and having an adventure. So that would be fun. But of course, Harry Potter is always the backup because everyone would say that. What is your favourite fantasy creature? Dragons. Anything dragon-like. Wyverns, dragons. I mean, I like sort of phoenixes and, I don't know, strange made-up creatures are always interesting too, like creatures that the author has made up for their world, I think can be really interesting. I really like the species that Syssix is in The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I would have to say that dragons are my favourite fantasy creature because I love them. What one food would you eat if you could only eat that for the rest of your life? Chocolate or pizza? Or both. Such an unhealthy diet, but it would be great. If I could eat both of them for the rest of my life and I wouldn't gain any weight or anything, and I wouldn't be morbidly obese, then it would be great. Somehow I don't think that's going to happen, so I'll try and limit it for now, but those are my two favourite vices. Homemade Italian pizza, oh, stone-baked, yummy, and chocolate. Specifically Cadbury's chocolate or Galaxy. I like both, but I think Cadbury's is winning at the moment. I go through phases with both. Okay, HIM then asked, what does your family think about you reading? My family is weird because my mum reads, but she really doesn't read very much. My sister reads, but she doesn't read much, and neither of them really read what I read. So I am the one in the house who has 3 bookshelves in my room. They don't have any. My sister's got like a shelf this big of Sophie Kinsella books, and that's pretty much all she reads. And my mum has a bookshelf that is mostly sort of picture artist books. They're not really like fiction books, a lot of them are more non-fiction. She does own The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and things like that, so she has read some fantasy, but nowhere near as much as I have. I hope, fingers crossed, that my mum is going to get a Kindle for her birthday, so I hope she gets that, and then if she gets a Kindle she might start reading more. When I first started my channel, they were like, oh, that's a nice little hobby you've got there, whatever. And then I started buying more and more books, and they were like, it's getting a bit extreme now, Caitlin, why are you buying so many books? But I think they get it now because they've watched my channel and they've seen it grow over time, and they've seen the amount of people and friends that I've made friends with. They're really supportive of it now, and they definitely have got way more on board with like buying me books if I ask for them, and sort of just generally supporting my channel and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things that took them quite a while to come around to, but now that I've been doing it for 2 years and my channel's a lot bigger than it was when it began, I think they get that it's actually a passion of mine. It's not just a random little hobby that I was doing on the side. Ulf Anderson asks, how many audiobooks versus physical books do you read? At the moment, when I'm at uni, I definitely listen to way more audiobooks than when I'm not at uni, because doing a drawing or design course means that as long as I'm not planning, as long as I'm actually creating my final pieces, I can just sit and draw for hours and hours and hours. And obviously I could listen to music, I could watch videos, but I choose to use that time to listen to audiobooks. So when I'm at uni, definitely audiobooks seem to take priority. But I do read a lot more on my Kindle as well when I'm at uni, because I really, really enjoy reading in the darkness, and I love the fact that my Kindle can do that. But I did recently get one of those little book lights from my boyfriend, and so I can now read physical books in the dark. So I've been reading about equal at the moment between audiobooks and physical books, and I think that's probably going to continue for the rest of university time. Deborah K asked, were there any books that you could not stop thinking about for weeks or days after you read them? Yes. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Love that book so much. It's amazing. You guys should read it. I don't know how many times I'm going to talk about it in this video, but if you haven't got the point yet, you should read it. Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. My favourite ever book of all time. I still get really emotional when I think about it. I read it earlier this year and it is the best book I've ever read, ever come across. Utter perfection. I loved it. So, but I mean, that's because there's like a 9-book build up until you get to that book. So it's a long commitment, but oh my gosh, it's amazing. So those two are probably the two that I most think about, because it's the best sci-fi and the best fantasy I've ever read. But then if you're thinking more in terms of sort of hard-hitting stuff, like Anne Frank's diary really got to me, always makes me think. I want to read some books about like North Korea and stuff. Non-fiction or that sort of thing definitely feels like it would hit me harder. What type of music do you like? I like country music a lot more than I like regular sort of pop music. I do listen to pop music on occasion, but honestly country music is my jam. I really like Carrie Underwood, I like Taylor Swift. I mean, I've seen Taylor Swift in concert quite a few times, so I will freely admit that I really like her stuff. I much prefer her older stuff, I must say. And I love lyrics. I love the script as well. The script is an Irish band, and they kind of do like acoustic pop, and it's just, I love them. I've seen them in concert 3 times, I love them so much, and me and my 2 best friends all love them, so we've often gone to their gigs together, and it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, they are probably my favourite band, but Taylor Swift and Carrie Underwood I also really, really like. Are you ever embarrassed about the book cover when you're reading in public? Not really. I don't tend to care what people think of me, and often I don't have a book cover when I'm reading in public, because I'm usually either listening to an audiobook, so obviously people can't see what I'm listening to, or I have my Kindle and that doesn't have a book cover. It's very rare that I actually take a physical book out unless I'm really enjoying it and I just want to know exactly what's going to happen next. So usually I don't take physical books. Usually I take headphones and an audiobook, or I take my Kindle. And then Chelsea from the Reading Outlaw asked me, and this is a question I got from so many of you, how do you read so fast? I don't read fast, guys. I don't read fast. I just read a lot. My boyfriend could read the same speed as me if he wanted to. I'm not a fast reader. I just read a lot of the time. I mean, I'm maybe an average reader, but I don't think that my reading pace is just incredibly fast, unless I'm skim reading, in which case, of course it is, because I'm not really reading properly, and I don't really skim read very often. What I tend to do is just not go out. I have a lot of friends who I talk to over the internet, so I don't need to go out to talk to them, and I can literally just have a chat with them and then go back to reading my book. I don't tend to go out and do loads of activities, like I'm not part of any clubs or anything like that. I'm a full-time student, but I get a few days off each week, which means I can read on those days as well as doing work. I can make videos and stuff. So I just have more free time than a lot of people. If you've got a full-time job, you're obviously going to have less time than me. But equally, the thing that I do is that I can listen to audiobooks whilst I work, so that's something a lot of people can't do with the projects or the courses that they're doing or the work that they do. For me, it's just a case of I read as much as I can. My boyfriend, he knows that I read, and he accepts that in the night time I'm going to sit, I'm going to have a book, and that's what I'm going to do whilst he watches videos and stuff. I mean, I watch YouTube, but I don't watch it anywhere near as much as some people do. So I definitely spend a lot of my time reading. Then Mercedes asked me, very jokingly, if you could score me out of 10, meaning herself, out of 10 on awesomeness, what would it be? Mercedes, you know I love you, it would be 10 out of 10. You are amazing. And then the actual question she asked me is, what 3 unread books do you own that you have owned the longest, and why haven't you read them yet? I have a lot of books that I've owned for quite a long time, and the reason I haven't read them yet is because I keep buying more. It's a bookish problem. I keep buying more and then I forget about the ones that are behind the others because I double stack my bookshelves, and so I have to rotate my TBR shelf around quite a lot and rearrange it so that I remember what is behind all the other books, and sometimes things just get forgotten at the back, so that happens. Hannah Jervis asks, and I might make this the last question of this video and then make a part 2, so this is going to be the last question of this one. Were you nervous about posting your first YouTube video? And if so, how did you get past it? Yes, of course I was nervous. I'd never done anything like it. The reason I started YouTube and the reason I wanted to get involved in BookTube in particular was because I loved reading and I hadn't been doing it as much as I wanted to, and I really wanted to sort of motivate myself to do it more and get in on the community because I loved seeing people chatting in the comments and the really nice vibes and things like that. So I was terrified when I first did it. Well, I wasn't terrified, I was pretty terrified. If you go back and watch my earliest videos, you can tell that I am so much more nervous than I am now. I was nervous, and I put up the video even though I was nervous, and that was just me saying, you know what, I'm doing it. And luckily I didn't get put off by mean comments or anything. It was a really nice, receptive community, and even though I was obviously quite nervous in my first few videos, people were really lovely, people were really kind, and they supported me anyway. And it meant that I just got more and more confidence, and as time went on I got better at reviewing, better at sort of articulating my points and saying exactly what I wanted to say and getting across anything and everything. And so yeah, it's a learning process. I mean, I am still learning. I'm sure that in the future my videos will be more confident than they are now, because it's just one of those things that you constantly evolve and you constantly get better and you constantly find new ways of doing things. And yeah, it's all a learning process. I had no idea how to edit when I began. I had no idea how to record on a camera. I'd never even done that before because I didn't own a camera until I started my YouTube channel, and that's why I started it. So it was all a learning curve for me, but I had a great time learning it and getting into the community and chatting to people. I did buddy reads, I just got involved, and that's how I started to get way more confident and then met loads of other people. So I would say it's all about just giving it a go. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, but you might find that it is an amazing opportunity and you can find some genuine, real friends from doing it. So I would highly, highly recommend starting a BookTube channel if you guys are interested in doing it. Give it a go, why not? Loads of people are, and it's a great, great community and a great load of people. So I would say do it. I'm going to end the video here for now, but I'm going to continue answering questions in part 2. I hope you guys liked my answers. If there are any questions I haven't answered that you would love to hear me answer, then definitely leave me comments in the bottom of this video and I will do another Q&A at some point in the future. So thank you all for your questions, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat.